What's a silent promise you've made to the world that no one knows about? When I was 16, I saw something that rewired me in a way I've never been able to undo. It wasn't dramatic in the way people think life-changing moments are supposed to be. No music swelled, no epiphany slammed into me all at once. It was quiet, almost invisible, and yet I carry it every day like it's tattooed somewhere under my skin. I was walking home from school in late November. The air was brittle, the kind of cold that makes every breath feel sharp. I'd cut through the side streets to avoid the main road, and that's when I saw him. A man, older but not elderly, sitting on the curb with a grocery bag next to him. He was wearing a suit jacket that looked like it had been slept in for days, and his hands were bare. I wouldn't have noticed him except for the fact that he was staring into his hands. Not in a distracted way, but like whatever he saw there was the most important thing in the world. When I passed close enough, I saw it was a little paper bag. He reached inside and pulled out a muffin. Blueberry. It was crushed and missing chunks like someone had taken bites out of it earlier. I don't know why, but I slowed down. He didn't notice me. He broke the muffin in half, then in half again, and then again, until there were maybe 10 uneven pieces. And then he started laying them out on the curb next to him, careful and slow. It took me a second to see them. 3 pigeons, shivering slightly, watching him from the gutter. He didn't rush them. He didn't call them over or throw food at them. He just placed each piece down like he was setting a table. Eventually, the pigeons hopped closer, pecking at the crumbs, their little heads jerking up every so often to look at him. He didn't move, didn't try to touch them, just watched them eat with this gentleness I didn't know how to name back then. I kept walking. It wasn't like I had anywhere urgent to be, but I suddenly felt like I shouldn't be there, like I'd stepped into a private moment I wasn't meant to witness. That night, I kept thinking about it. I didn't know the man's story, but it didn't take a genius to put pieces together. Homeless, probably. Maybe the muffin was all he had for the day, but he'd split it anyway. Not for people. Not for anything that would thank him or return the favor. For pigeons. The next day, I walked the same road. He wasn't there. I started taking that side street more often, not really knowing what I was looking for. Sometimes I'd see him, sometimes I wouldn't. When I did, he was usually eating something small. Half a sandwich, a roll, a single apple. And he always saved part of it for whatever small creatures were nearby. Pigeons. A squirrel once. Even a scrawny cat that approached him like it had done this before. We never spoke. He never even seemed to notice me, but I noticed him. And somewhere in my mind, I made a promise. It wasn't a big spoken vow. It was more like a thread pulled tight in my chest. If I ever had enough, more than I needed, I wouldn't hoard it. I wouldn't turn away just because something or someone couldn't thank me. Years passed. I left home, got a job, moved to a city. That thread never loosened. It started small. I'd buy an extra coffee and leave it on the corner where a man sold flowers every morning. I'd slip granola bars into my bag and hand them out when I saw someone clearly living rough. In winter, I started keeping a few cheap pairs of gloves in my coat pocket. The first time I handed a pair to a woman sitting outside a pharmacy, she just stared at me for a long time before taking them. Sometimes it wasn't about people at all. I've filled a bowl of water for stray cats in summer. I've bought a bag of birdseed and scattered it in the dead of winter when the ground was iced over. I've spent a stupid amount of time untangling a plastic ring from around a duck's neck. I've never told anyone why I do it. When friends see me handing a sandwich to someone, they just assume I'm being nice. It's not niceness. It's a debt I decided to pay without ever being asked. The man from my hometown, I never knew his name. I don't know if he's alive, but I think about him more than anyone would guess. Sometimes when I'm walking with a bag of groceries and I see a cluster of pigeons, I'll stop and break off a piece of bread. I lay it down slow, just like he did. People walk by. No one pays attention. I don't need them to. This isn't a promise I made for applause. It's not something I even think about in words anymore. It's just part of me. The way some people always double-check their door locks or can't sleep without a fan. Every time I do it, I picture him sitting on that curb, breaking his muffin into smaller and smaller pieces until there was nothing left for himself. I picture the way the pigeons came closer, fearless in the quiet of that moment. And I think this is how the world should work. Not in grand gestures, not in speeches, in small, unnoticed moments where someone decides to share what little they have just because they can. That's the silent promise. And I intend to keep it until there's nothing left to give.